to Ruben, the
Hey.
last section.
Oops. Hey, hello everyone. So I'm going to, as soon as I get my screen figure out here. Okay, and then, all right, perfect. So can you see my browser right now? Hello?
Yep, I
Okay,
can see
good.
it.
And then, all right, so yeah, this is a new section that we're trying this week. It's called Common Questions Answer, where we looked at some of the questions that are commonly asked in our community Slack. And then we decide to pick one or several of them that deserve, further discussion or ones that we can give advice on, right? So the ones that we decided to speak out about this week is basically, like this comes on and off again. It's about having an official Docker image. Presently, we do not, we have a Docker image, but it's not suitable for many use cases. Some people have difficulties with it, whether they can containerize it or how they can customize it or et cetera, right? So like but I guess with good news is the fact is that you can do this yourself if you have Docker. Hello? Yeah. To build images. And then basically, so we have several use cases that I will show you. Is that basically this is that how to use Docker for local development. And then here's where I'm going to go to my Visual Studio Code. So like I'm going to show you how to define the image to build. And then as you can see, it's fairly easy here, fairly straightforward. You import from Ubuntu or whichever image your organization has. It can be Alpine or any other distribution or base image that you are comfortable using. And then we are going to, here line 4 is just basically telling the image to go ahead and burn the requirements in order to install Python and pip, and as well as Great Expectations later on, right? So up until here, right, like this is our just basically essential requirements. Once that's done, then we're going to go ahead and tell pip to install Great Expectations. And again, from here, it really depends. You can have brackets like Snowflake or whichever sub like requirements that you need. This can be done from here as well, right? But just for the sake of this demo, I'm simply choosing to have the plain vanilla Great Expectations. And then I'm going to tell the Docker image builder to create in that container a work directory called app. And then the work directory, the way it works in Docker, so if you don't know, is that it basically is going to be your landing site once you go into that container, and things that run will be running out of that particular directory unless otherwise specified. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and tell the Docker to build that image for us. The command, I just posted on the screen, it builds the image. Obviously, assuming that, like if this is because we have cache, but normally will take a couple of minutes to build. And then we're going to go and log into that particular container just to show you, right? We log, and then we are going to land in the apps directory. If you're seeing in my terminal at the bottom of the screen, you can see that we landed there. However, there's nothing there. So, it's not a particularly useful thing to do. So one of the things that we can do for local development is essentially we're gonna we can mount our local directory into the container, and then mount it in that particular work directory. So that way, when we run it, right, and then we do ls, we're gonna have access to whatever files we have here on the left, in the left nav bar that you can see. They're gonna be also accessible for there. And then if you were to make a change to this file, for instance, like that, this is my change in my local thing. And then if you were to look in the container itself, then you can say that, like it's written right there. And then so you can keep working and then running things here locally. Working here and then running things directly in the container. For instance, like you can even do run the Python script with a demo sample. Let's assume that this is your Great Expectations code, and then it will run, right? Like it just whatever you have defined in that code, all of this is running in the container, even though you can be modifying the files locally. that's all cool and all, right? Like, and then just very useful as you're also developing, if you're planning to eventually deploy this particular container to a CI environment or a CI pipeline. And then, but then let's say like you are in a restrictive environment where like you're only given access to a browser and a Docker runtime, assuming your organization has everything else, right? So like we can come here, for instance, and then we can add this this command line, this line. As soon as I copy it, and sorry, excuse me. All right, good. So we grab this command over here. And we are we save it to the file, and then we're gonna build again. Right. And then once the image is built, then we're gonna go ahead and tell Docker to run the container, and then we're gonna use port forwarding. So that way, when that runs, this is running the container here at the bottom. And then if I were to click this one over here, then I have a fully functional Jupyter notebook that is running in my browser, it's running the container, I can see it through the browser. And then for instance, like I can see it through here, right? Like, and then assuming that you have your GX code, this is all being executed at the container level. And then, like, again, like you can continue on and work as if it was local. This is all running in the, you're simply using the browser as a way to do that. Just really cool. Okay, so going back here, so let's talk about a different, so once you're ready, let's say to, submit, not to submit, to have this particular container to be part of your CI, then we're gonna go ahead and let me go and then show you here. We're gonna go ahead, close these two tabs and leave, there you go. And then, like what happens, let's try to tie all this together. It says like, well, let's say that you have GX for team development, you have a repository that you want that repository to be tested, right? And then like, so this is a very common use case, and I would say one of the most useful ones. So then the way that we're going to do that is if we look right at the definition for you to build your own image for that, it's going to be a nearly identical up until here. The only difference that we're going to install curl and git as part of the requirements. And then this will allow you to check out all the components or clone the repos that you want. So let's assume that you have a trigger to your CI, right? Then it's just like, well, when these files are updated, trigger that pipeline, and then this will go ahead and then run this. It will clone it. It will clone the project in the current directory. And again, the current directory is going to be definition, but because of the facilities that Docker gave us, it's going to be the app. And then once that builds, that will remain there, easy and access. And then we're going to run a PyExample script directly here. So that way, after the CI builds and then it runs that container, then it will show here, obviously here, this is just the same file that I run before, but you can have your tests defined here, your expectations defined. And further, if you have other stuff set up in your GX right project, whether it is like, like notifications to Teams or Slack, or whether it is posting your data docs to a cloud hosting, all of that will get done, right? And then eventually, once that's done, the step will show us whether succeed or failure to the CI, and then should be able to take other steps beyond that, right? So again, it's with that Docker file image, we're gonna, oops, let me copy and paste the command, and paste. All right, so we're gonna tell it to build that image for us, and then we just basically tell it the CI will have the trigger to run that container. Oops. And of course, that is not really command. And then that's it. So like it will, the files are already burned into the image, and then you will run whatever script or scripts that you want to run, and it will have it there. So like, I think all this to say, right, like as I've told you, it's like a relatively fairly straightforward, simple to create an image of your own for your own custom usage. Great Expectations, there's nothing magical, nothing special about it. You can download from pip, yeah, and add or remove whichever like requirements that you need. All right, and when with that, right, this is a fairly, like a topic that has come up on and off again. Let's keep this conversation going, right? Like in the community Slack, I'll be watching for in the data-quality-discussion channel. And then if you have any suggestions or, or any other queries around that, I'll be happy to answer them in that channel. And with that, I'm gonna pass back to Kyle.
Thank you, Ruben. That was incredibly efficient. Got us in with only two minutes over time. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you for all the great questions and participation. Thanks Tamara for joining us today. That was awesome. So if your questions didn't get answered, please jump into those Slack channels and we'll get to them. All right. See y'all next month.
Thank you.